It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the fine thing, it's glistening once again. Candy canes and silver rings that glow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store, but the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. A pair of high boots and a kiss of the cheeks is the wish of Barney and Ben. Cars of the park will go for a walk is the hope of Janice and Jen. Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. There's a tree in the Grand Hotel, one in the park as well. It's the sturdy kind that doesn't mind the snow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Soon the bells will start, and the thing that'll make them ring is the carol that you sing right within your heart. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store, but the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. Sure, it's Christmas once more.
I honestly should have wrote a festive intro.
Yes. We're still getting into the festive swing of things. So give us until next week, and we'll have all this sorted out. But until then,
Feliz Navidad.
greetings. Yeah.
Our Legion of Doom.
Festive greetings to our Legion of Elves and Reindeer. Welcome to Podcast of the Storm number 40.
With me is the Jolly Holly Wheelchair Man, the Authenticator, aka Dalton.
Yes. Hello and Feliz Navidad, folks. We're like I say, we're still getting into the swing of things.
And I'm the Santa Claus burglar, the brainstormer pop culture.
That makes you sound like you're like an apprentice to the Grinch or something.
Who wouldn't want to be?
Yeah, true. Most versions of the Grinch aren't necessarily such bad guys. They just have this one particular lack of a festive impulse for Christmas. Although apparently the Grinch really, really loves Halloween, because according to one of the Dr. Seuss specials, another name for Halloween in the Seuss universe is Grinch Night.
So a few updates. Well, also we have no idea if Corrupt is going to show up.
Yeah. He nuked his Twitter again because he was finding it too distracting. So, if anything, he'll join us via his other account.
Yeah. Also, I'm starting to get sick, so I might not be as talkative as I usually am. Or throat. Hopefully by next week I'll have it kicked, but just here's hoping. Other than that, I guess we can move on and start. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of Christmas stuff this week. We weren't really looking and didn't really think about it until now.
Yeah, we have one Christmassy story that under normal circumstances we would probably cover during a one shot, but because StreamYard decided to take away half of our ability to stream, we can't really do that. So we'll cover it here.
Yeah. But other than that, let's move on to our first topic. There's some Dalton sent me. Upper Rocks, Neil Gaiman points out the issue of making Superman quote unquote relevant to modern audiences by Josh Kerp.
Spoiler alert, he basically says everything that we said last week, just more succinctly. Because Neil's awesome like that.
Yeah. Give me a moment. All right. All right. The last live action Superman movie was 2017's Justice League. But the last good Superman movie, either 2006's Superman Returns, if that's a hill you want to die on, I don't, or Superman 2, all the way back in 1981.
Yeah, it has been a while. Oh boy.
Point is, most Superman movies are bad, but that won't stop executives from trying to make the Man of Steel relevant to modern audiences. Last week,
Unfortunately not.
yeah, that's because the people who get put in charge of Superman fucking suck and don't know how to use them.
Yeah. We already came up with several good ideas last week. if anyone's curious.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I would love to see a whole, and I think there's been a YouTuber who does something like this, where it's secondhand accounts of DC superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
I like talk about it. It's actually really interesting and cool. I would actually have to maybe later, like after the stream or something, I'll send them to Dalton to check out, or put them in the comments below. So
yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah. Last week, Forbes published an article about how DC Films doesn't know what to do with Superman. The headline: DC Films still doesn't know what to do with Superman. See, but it's not it's not the post that went viral. It's this tweet. All right. DC Films still doesn't know what to do with Superman. The studio reportedly is unsure how to make the character relevant to modern audiences, with air quotes.
Mm-hmm. And I would make the point I made last week again, but funnily enough, Neil is about to do it for me, so I don't need to say a damn thing. Aha.
The relevant to modern audiences quote spoken by an unnamed source caught the eye of author Neil Gaiman, whose acclaimed The Sandman comic book series was published first by DC Comics, then Vertigo Comics, an imprint of DC.
In short, one of the greatest comics ever written. And if anyone disputes that, I will fight them on it.
with words. Can't really do so with fist.
Yeah. No, I would break if it ever came to fisticuffs. I can curse you though, so keep that in mind. Probably wouldn't waste it on something that stupid, but if you're bad mouthing the Sandman, it would tempt me. Would definitely tempt me.
Hmm. In response to the tweet and by proxy the article, he tweeted, "You don't make it relevant, you make it inspiring." Gaiman's right. Being inspiring and not gritty is Superman's whole deal. No one needs Soups listening to Billie Eilish or being called Soups, for that matter.
I don't know. I think playfully calling him Soups probably wouldn't be so out of place. Because this is the other thing. Superman is one of the most naive motherfuckers on the face of any given universe. There's a reason he's called the Big Blue Boy Scout. Because he gives Captain America a run for his money when it comes to the mom baseball apple pie, aw shucks, humble brag attitude he has. So
It's what Homelander pretends to be.
yeah.
So there's the tweet, Neil Gaiman, you don't make it relevant, you make it inspiring.
And once again, as per usual, Neil Gaiman is the most sensible person in the room when it comes to these matters, at least in terms of the actual artistic community, which leads me back into the why don't we just give all the things to Neil Gaiman until other people can get their heads out of their asses, please?
Grant Morrison.
Yeah, Grant Morrison apparently has done some good work recently too. Although I'm kind of pissed at Grant Morrison because apparently all those years when he proclaimed himself to be an occultist, he was lying for the sake of the meme, and I'm not a big fan of that. He still knows how to write good occult based stories. I'm just saying, given how few actual occultists there are in the world, we need all the help we can get, and don't fucking lie about it because lying helps no one. But that's a rant for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I concur with the world's greatest dreamer on this matter.
Others responded to the tweet, including Patton Oswalt, who joked that DC should make it super gritty, kinda early 70s Scorsese style. He's a failed reporter or something, and Lois Lane is just a figment of his imagination and call it super.
Okay,
He's joking.
Patton, right, but the premise of his joke is stupid. He's saying that it would be stupid. He's at least implying that it would be stupid to make any comic book character like that. But Patton, here's the reason why it works with the Joker and it would not work with Superman. And you are right, it would not work with Superman, and that would be a truly mock-worthy thing. But the thing is, the Joker already has themes and backstory that kind of fit the Scorsese mold to begin with. Hell, one of Scorsese's most famous, well, maybe not most famous, but definitely most iconic works is King of Comedy, which is a movie that is literally about a failed comedian that goes insane. So that's why Joker worked, but Supes wouldn't. Making Superman insane wouldn't give you basically anything except Brightburn, and Brightburn's already been done, and it wasn't entirely all that great to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all right, but it certainly was no Joker. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. And Brooklyn Nine-Nine writer, good show by the way. Please go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Who wrote simply, "Baby Superman." Would watch.
What? No. Teen Superman I would watch. I mean, Superboy has been a thing for a long time, but Superman as a baby, no.
Um, kind of at the end of the article already. There's a tweet here, though. One moment. God damn it. Relevant to modern audiences. You mean an undocumented alien coming to the U.S. and some rich white man in power hates him because he's afraid of Superman, even though he only does good things. Geez, I don't know how it can be relevant to modern audiences. Fuck off, Arturo Torres.
Okay, so that tweet there is everything wrong with the whole relevancy thing to begin with. Neil Gaiman is literally making the opposing point to the point you are making. He is making the point of do not fucking put it in a socio-political woo-woo conceptual framework. Make Superman an archetype, not a means to a socio-political end. And you saw that tweet of that salient and epically sophisticated point of Neil Gaiman's, and you took the exact opposite message from it. I don't know how these people can even, but I certainly cannot even.
There was actually like I said, I've done a video where I pitched an idea for a Superman movie.
Mm-hmm.
Son of Krypton.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, that name really had no actual relevancy. And I think about it to the story. Huh. Anyway, I kind of took some inspiration. The story was actually kind of simple on the fact that technically it was actually two movies in one. Like the first half of it was like one movie, and the second half it was another.
Mm-hmm.
The first half of the movie was kind of building up this relationship between Clark and his father, and also kind of a rumor of the Superman.
Mm-hmm.
His father does pass away within like the early second act of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he kind of puts away the cape for a time being because he rushes to his father from Metropolis to Smallville because he could hear his father having a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of to harken back to the classic comic where I don't know what comic it was, but he was racing. Yeah, he was going there where the panels where he's like at top speed, like where his clothes are burning.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I can save him. I can save everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and a little bit after that, he's just kind of not Superman after his father's funeral.
Because he is depressed and unsure of his abilities because the one time he needed them the most, they failed.
Yeah. And plus, I redid the bus scene because I like that scene prior to that John Kent's maybe thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where he actually tells Clark, don't be afraid to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you'd have to watch it because I'm trying to remember what something I said like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, Superman is an inspiring character. Like, okay, and also kind of, God, I really don't want to talk about. So I did still have the destruction of Metropolis for the third act. Like, it's the whole third act, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But the stakes are that Clark is trying to get the Kryptonians out of the city. He's not randomly wrecking stuff. But since there are three of them and it's just one of him, he keeps getting knocked into stuff by accident.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's even one time he's trying to hold up a building as it's starting to collapse.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets tackled by one of them.
And that's another thing. In the entirety of Man of Steel, do we actually see him like saving people? Because I don't recall seeing him save very many people at all in Man of. I mean, he saves the world as as a whole, but he doesn't go out of his way to save like individual people, except for maybe Lois. So
Right. So you guys remember I'm sure you remember the scene where he snaps Zod's neck, right?
everyone remembers that scene. That scene will live in infamy for the foreseeable future.
Right. I don't do that. I have a scene similar to that on the fact that um it's a family thing, right? But the kid, like one of the kids there. Well, the whole thing is that I have a montage in the first act where there are people giving their descriptions of the Superman who's saving people and stuff throughout Metropolis.
Yeah.
And there's this kid who talks about Superman saving his cat from a tree. Yeah. That's the same kid who throws a rock at Zod as Zod is pounding and wailing on Clark, getting the shit beat out of him, trying to distract or like telling Zod to leave Superman alone.
Mm-hmm.
Superman vaporizes that family in my version as Superman was trying to not Superman, Zod
Yeah.
vaporizes that family with his heat vision as Superman was trying to rush to protect them. Um, I think, yeah, but he still doesn't kill Zod because the words of his father echo back to him, like always, like do the right thing and stuff like that. And the movie, how I had the movie end was that he goes back down to Metropolis, right? There are a bunch of civilians booing and throwing stuff at him. Doesn't pay it any mind. He goes to like the wreckage of a building. It starts clearing debris and uh, like gets survivors out of that stuff. And other people start joining while other people are still booing and stuff.
Yeah. Which brings up an interesting question. Given the vast array of powers that Superman has in the DC extended universe, why didn't he try to help the reconstruction effort, considering whether it was accidental or not, a large part of the damage was his and his people's fault? Like,
Right, that's actually funny because well, another reason why I had that ending was to kind of harken back to the idea of Superman being a controversial figure. See, I like there are like ideas in Snyder's movies that I liked, but I don't
yeah,
think we fully
it's
expanded
not
on.
done well,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
and so I had so that ending for the first Superman movie of my universe for DC Comics made more sense of him having a controversial, um,
Hmm.
yeah, him being a controversial figure in the public eye.
Yeah.
And like in the second movie, it takes 6 months after the first movie for Superman. He's helping with reconstruction and stuff and talking with Star Labs as a kind of agreement. He's helping them learn about the technology and stuff as they're salvaging it.
Hmm.
Plus, I have Parasite in there in that movie.
That's an interesting villain that they've never done anything with.
Actually, I have him as kind of a sympathetic villain who's like a fan of Superman at first. Plus, I also have
Hmm.
Intergang as well.
Hmm?
I have Intergang in that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now I know who you mean.
Yeah, so I still haven't finished that script. I'm still working on that one. It's a pain in the ass.
Hmm.
I'm busy with a lot of other stuff too. So
Yeah, you also have like 5 different other projects going at the moment and work, and also you have a cold. So
yeah,
I think you're excused for the time being.
but yeah, back to this. Superman, the quote unquote relevancy is he would be more relevant if he stood as a beacon of inspiration and hope for a bunch of cynical jackasses.
In the same way that in kind of a similar way, but in a way in the opposite way that the Joker was, because Joker was a movie that brought attention to problems that people don't like paying attention to or don't like focusing on. Superman's job, if he could be said to have one as an idea, is to tell people to lay down your cynical worries for 5 seconds and choose to believe in something better and higher and more pure.
Right. I'm gonna pull up our second thing. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Everywhere you go, take a look at the 5 and 10, glistening once again. Candy canes and silver lanes aglow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store. But the prettiest sight to see is the heart that will be on your own.
Okay, I am back. So actually, before we move on to our second topic, do you have anything else to say, Dalton, about the Superman
Just,
thing?
just fuck that person at the end there. They took the exact that they took the very obvious thing that Neil Gaiman was saying and they twisted it into the exact fucking opposite of the thing he meant.
Bring back the trunks, by the way, folks.
Yeah, if we're being choosy and picking, then why be ashamed of the tights? If you're so worried about the tights, here's an idea. Since Superman was originally inspired by circus strongmen, make Superman a period piece and have him actually have Clark actually be inspired by circus strongmen.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Um, there's actually a design I had looked up for like fan art and stuff for like pictures to use.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was like an art. It was kind of similar to like to the Man of Steel one,
Mm-hmm.
but with trunks.
Hmm.
Like I would have to look it up and send the picture to you, Dalton, but it looked good to me.
I think I've seen that picture. I think that someone edited the trunks back on basically.
Plus, if anyone remembers Professor Geek, because he's a YouTuber and a good one, and I recommend people check him out.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah. I he did a video talking about like the design of the Man of Steel's Superman suit. Talk about how like the trunks add a good layer of like color. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like you take the trunks off, there's too much blue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Okay. So second one is a I guess SJW version SJWized Baby It's Cold Outside.
Which we are going to rip into because my god, this is one of the single stupidest fucking things.
I actually
I have.
think I told you and Corrupt once, like maybe off stream, that I legitimately thought like the original Baby It's Cold Outside, like the classic version, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was about a man and a woman cheating. Like they were cheating with each other, but
On other spouses they presumably had.
yeah. I don't know why I thought it. It's just like listening to the lyrics and stuff. It just kind of sounded like it, I guess.
Well, the reason they're kind of playing coy is because they know that society won't approve of them, and maybe that was sort of what you were picking up on, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. It's just I don't know. To me, it just kind of seemed like they were talking about like they really shouldn't care if they were cheating on their spouses or something. I again, it maybe that's just where my weird mind went to.
Like I said, maybe it was because the lyrics are designed to make it feel like you're getting away with something, and so your brain kind of invented a scandal to get away with as a result of that.
Probably, and we have one viewer who
Yay.
has said something.
Hmm.
But okay, so yeah, we'll cover this. And as soon as we cover the first 20 seconds, I'm going to have to disappear for a moment.
Mhm.
All right. Candy King.
Figgy pudding.
Figgy pudding it is.
Mhm.
I really can't stay. Maybe I'm fine with that. I've got to go away. Maybe I'm cool with that. This evening has been.
Okay, so let me just get to the first lyrics and then. Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Really can't stay, and I will be back.
Convenient timing.
Oh,
Oh.
wait, hold on. Ahsoka Tano Gaming is here. Hello, Ahsoka. Hey, what we talking about? We talking about Baby It's Cold Outside. Yeah. And I will tell you the story of how I originally thought that song meant. If you weren't there for that, I will be right back.
Mhm. Yeah, see, we found an SJWI's version of Baby It's Cold Outside, and I'm going to rage at it because Baby It's Cold Outside is honestly, it's one of the most romantic songs, period, but it's also one of my favorite Christmas songs. So I am going to attempt to mansplain the proper context of Baby It's Cold Outside to people who apparently don't fucking get it. And then I might suggest a alternate version for us to watch because I have a feeling that if you switched the genders around, they wouldn't. No one would see a problem with this. Do do do. Jolly old Saint Nicholas, lean your in this way. Don't you tell a single soul what I'm going to say. Christmas Eve is coming soon, now my dear old whisper what you'll bring to me. Tell me if you can. The clock is striking 12. I'm fast asleep. Down the chimney.
I am back, and what did I miss?
Nothing. I just explained to Ahsoka that there's an SJW version of Baby It's Cold Outside that tried to fix things, and then I tried to fill the dead air with Jolly Old Saint Nicholas.
Uh-huh. Okay, so Summertime Gaming. I thought this was talking about a date that was going to have fun. Yeah, no one would see a problem with it, but I'd see a problem with it if I saw a problem with the original. Yeah, okay, I guess that works. I don't know if you were here for when I explained what I like when I originally heard the original song. Like I originally thought for some reason that it was about two people cheating on their spouses, like with each other.
Yeah, his brain heard the scandalous tone of the original Maybe It's Cold Outside, and he invented a scandal for that scandalous tone to fit into the
Yeah,
parody.
again, it's weird. Like, it's a good. For the record, I like that song. It's really good.
Mhm.
Kind of makes me wish I actually had a girl, or well, yeah, I had a girl to play that little duet with.
Mhm.
Even though I can't sing worth shit, you know. Also, I am kind of getting sick, so I'm
Yeah.
kind of dying here.
He is developing a cold, and it is painful. But I did offer for us to not have to do this if he didn't feel up to it, and he said he felt up to it. So here we are.
I'm not puking, and that's how I always judge things. Like if I go to school or work, if I'm not puking, then I'm working.
You are made of sterner stuff than I.
Ugh, there is
Although
a
usually
in my chest.
usually when- usually when I do get sick, I'm laid out for 2 weeks. I don't get sick often, but when I do, I get really sick.
Oh, I know someone, and Chrononaut is here. What's up, Chrono? All right, so since we're now here again, so there was some text before earlier in the video.
Mhm.
Oh, heck, I need to take another swig of my juice. Okay, Baby It's Cold Outside, written in 1944 by Frank Loesser. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. Loesser has developed a creepy vibe over the years. That's only because people have thought it was a creepy vibe.
Yeah, and again, most of that, guys, is because when this was written, there were courtship rituals that needed to be accounted for. Thus, if you wanted to have a relationship out of wedlock or before getting married to someone, you needed to be slightly sneaky about it. And if you wanted to save face and still remain, virtuous and virginal in the eyes of society, you needed to come up with excuses. Hence, this song is about coming up with various excuses about why this person should stay with the person that she is very evidently attracted to. I shouldn't have to explain this in a sane universe, but we don't live in a sane universe. We live in the upside down fucking fruitcake dimension.
Chrononaut Dalton promised rant.
Not this Sunday, Chrono, next week.
Yeah. Okay, so songwriters Lydia Lisa and Josiah Limansky. If I butchered those names, I am sorry. Revised the lyrics to emphasize the importance of consent in sexual relationships.
There is absolutely bumfuck nothing non-consensual in Baby It's Cold Outside. What is happening there is people are trying to subtly signal to each other that they find each other attractive and worthwhile, and they're testing one another, essentially.
The like to dislike ratio always gets me for this stuff. At least I know there are a lot of more people out there than I thought that actually have brains.
Yeah, brains are good and useful things. Anyway,
13.
Figgy pudding. Huh?
I was going to mention the like dislike ratio, like what it is.
Go ahead.
Hold on, I am dying here. 1 second. Okay. 13K to dislikes to 6.5K likes.
How the hell were there 6,000 plus people on the internet that were willing to like this shit? That's the highness of the like ratio is honestly more frightening than the dislike ratio on this.
Oh, I just disliked it, so another downvote for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that when I found this, I disliked it as well. So yeah.
So I think for the female version, like the female lyrics, they're pretty much the same, right?
Yeah, the idea is apparently the first one was about a man pressuring a woman into staying when she didn't want to. So they leave the female lyrics largely untouched and change the male version to demonstrate how a proper man is supposed to put the woman's consent before his own desires, apparently, or something.
Well, wouldn't that just make the woman come off as kind of a weirdo then? Like hitting on him too hard?
Yeah, it also makes the man come off like a dick who wants to basically get rid of her.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of jokes about this version saying like the guy wanted to play Call of Duty and he wanted to leave.
Honestly, I will be honest. If I was in a relationship, this would be like a song for me. Not like this version of the song, but maybe it's
Yeah,
called
the proper version. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I absolutely adore a version of this from the show Glee, which is a same-sex version between two guys.
Shocker.
And huh?
Shocker.
Yeah.
Okay, that wasn't me trying to be a dick. That was just
No, I know it was to underline the false irony. Yeah, I get it. But yeah, the I'll get more into this. I'll get more into this as we go. But a large part of this song is, at least in the original version, was a person playing hard to get, and the other person going out of their way to impress that other person, to let that person know how much they were desired. And far be it for me to have to explain this to SJWs, but normal people, when in romantic relationships, want to know that they are desired. So much so that they will make things hard for the other person so that the other person proves their mettle to them.
Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to say to someone, but we'll leave that for February.
Yes, we will.
All right.
Anyway, figgy pudding.
Figgy motherfucking pudding.
It's been so very nice. I'm glad you had a real good time. My mother will start to worry. Call her so she knows that you're coming. And father will be pacing the floor. You better get your car. So really, I better scurry. Take your time. Should I use the front or back door?
Again, it just comes off really bad.
Yeah, it comes off like she is trying to hint at him, I would like to stay, can you come up with a reason? And he's like, bitch, get the fuck out. And again, the main crux of the and we're gonna have to watch another version of this after this to contrast.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I have a feeling. But just to contrast this. But like because in the original, what happens is she comes up with token excuses for him to shut down, and he demonstrates his interest in her by being willing to go out of his way to let her know that she is desired. Because again, normal human beings, whether they be straight, gay, somewhere in between, whatever, want to know that the person they are romantically involved with desires them enough that they are willing to, again, test each other. It's just, the initial context of this was her coming up with excuses to see what he would do in response to those excuses. It's essentially her, or the submissive in the relationship, if you like, asking what is my affection, what is my time, what is my love worth to you? How much effort are you willing to put into this? And the SJW response to that is the man being an absolute toadying flunky the entire time, and the woman basically having to beat her head against a brick wall to let the guy know she's interested.
You know,
This,
for me, I would
this
just be
is why
completely
everyone
bored.
dislikes this kind of bullshit, because you will, if every human being thought this way, we would go extinct, because no one would be fucking. No one.
Fair enough. Again, for me, I'm a straightforward guy. I would just no, February.
Restrain your ever thriving romantic impulses, my love.
Well, okay, overall, I would just be very poetic and charismatic. Well, I say charismatic, but I'm not charismatic at all.
I don't know. You can be charming when you want to be. You just don't open up to every person that walks through the door.
Actually, that's really funny. God damn, why are we doing this?
Just let it go at this point.
Yeah, again, this is stuff for February for Valentine's Day, and God, I hate that holiday.
Well, actually, what day of the week does Valentine's Day fall on this year?
I have not looked that up because I don't have my new calendar up yet.
Something that Google would probably solve.
Probably, and okay, so overall, it just again, like, there's not really much to be said. It's just we're going to be reiterating the same points over and over for this song.
Yeah, because there's a very obvious point, and it appears to have gone completely the fuck over the head of the people who wrote this damn thing.
Oh, England's having a stream.
Yeah. He usually does on Extreme Movie Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I will play this and then I'll look up stuff.
Mm-hmm. Figgy pudding.
When are you pulling towards
The neighbors might think
that you're a real nice girl?
say, what is this strange?
Pomegranate Illinois.
I wish I knew how
Maybe I'll help you
to
out.
break his spell.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying, no.
Okay, you sir, in this song are a complete wet fish.
Yeah, it's
She is
again. It's. I'm sorry, Dawn. Please.
Go ahead. You do yours and I'll do mine.
Again, he comes off as both such a dick, but also like he knows what she's saying, but he doesn't want it. Like he doesn't want.
Or that he is the single cluelessest motherfucker on the face of the planet.
Granted, I'm 80, 75% sure I would be like that when it comes to a girl.
I could definitely see you being a bit tongue tied if it was a girl you liked. But again, this canon should be resolved by confidence issues being resolved at some point.
Oh, it's more of I'm not used to people liking me. So yeah, I would be tongue tied.
Yeah, like yeah, I get where you're coming from. People pay me a compliment and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But yeah, you've got to at some point, and I've just recently learned this myself. At some point, you've got to believe that you've got something worthwhile to offer people. At some point, and by the way, you do. But that's neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this got weird.
It usually does. It inevitably devolves into us basically giving each other therapy because that's apparently how our friendship works. But you know what? It works. So, meh.
Okay, so the Valentine's Day falls on a Friday.
Hmm.
Oh, the 16th of February would be a podcast for us.
I feel like we should do a stream on Valentine's Day for people who are alone on Valentine's Day because as much as there's a romantic industry on Valentine's Day, there's also sort of a side industry of people who are alone on Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, no, actually, maybe we should do it. Well, no, I can't.
Oh, right. You work on Fridays now, right?
I've always worked on Fridays. It's Thursdays now.
Ah.
Well, it depends. In like 2 months, who knows? I might be off of work.
Yeah, who knows? But if you're available, we should chill and do like a romantic substitute for Valentine's Day, I suppose.
Yeah, this just got weird again.
It always does. Just go with it.
Sorry, really dry throat.
Weirdly intimate moment followed by brainstormer's lungs basically committing seppuku.
At least I don't smoke.
Yeah, that would be bad.
All right, figgy pudding.
Kiki pudding.
You reserve the right to say no.
At least I'm gonna say that I tried.
You reserve the right to say no.
I really can't stay.
You don't have to.
I bet it's cold outside.
Okay,
I got
okay.
to get
Okay. It just occurred to me that this guy is a male feminist, but this woman is a non-feminist. Because think about that last exchange. Her going rather, clingingly, desperately, I really should say no, and him just repeating the feminist mantra of you deserve the right to say no, you deserve the right to say no. Dude, she's hitting on you for the love of all the things. And this isn't even a gender phenomena. Again, speaking as the requisite gay dude. I tend to be the more submissive type. And my point in bringing that up is when you are the more submissive type, it becomes the dominant's job to impress you, to take care of you, to show you that they're worthwhile. And that's what's going on here. It's this woman very heavily indicating, subtly but heavily, that she is interested in this guy, but also testing him to see how far he is willing to go in order to impress and ingratiate himself to her. And if you flipped the gender so that one of these guys or that one of these characters was a dude or the other character was a chick, you would have a similar dynamic because in most romantic relationships there is one party that is the more dominant of the two and one party that is more submissive of the two. And while that might seem like a one-way street to feminists who don't understand how romantic power dynamics work, yes, the dominant is more in charge, quote unquote, but the dominant is also subjugating his or their desires to the approval of the submissive one. The submissive one is the one that's taken care of in these types of situations. And so the submissive one in this case, the woman, is trying to test this man and see how far are you willing to go to gain my approval and gain my affections. How much is my love worth to you is essentially the message of this song. And the man in question, under most normal circumstances, is more than willing to demonstrate how far he's willing to go because he considers her affections very, very valuable. And again, I shouldn't have to explain this, but people like being valued by the people they are romantically interested in. People like, and even in non-romantic situations, people generally like being wanted by the people they associate with. In any kind of relationship, whether it be romantic or whether it just be a friendship, people like knowing that their input and their personhood is valued by the people they associate with. If that personhood is not valued, then that is a shitty relationship that no one should be in. Because people want to know that they're, worthwhile and they matter to the people they associate with. It's basic human, emotional connections. I shouldn't have to explain this shit, but apparently I do. Figgy pudding. Unless you had something.
Dude, I'm a hopeless romantic, but I've never had any romance, so I can't really comment.
Okay, so for the sake of argument, when you picture a romantic situation, what do you picture? I would bet $100 on you picturing someone you're romantically attracted to demonstrating that they find you valuable.
Let's hear it personal. Holy shit, okay. When I picture the kind of quote-unquote perfect romantic thing, it's dancing.
Mm-hmm.
We're both dressed in kind of gothic attire. We're dancing to just really old and just really nice songs that just have energy. I think Centerman by Nina Simone.
Mm-hmm.
And we just enjoy each other's company.
Mm-hmm. And again, a key feature of that is knowing that the person in this hypothetical scenario wants you there and want you specifically to be there. Because again, a key feature of any kind of relationship, but particularly romantic ones, is knowing that you are valued and that you are loved by the person you are in that relationship with. Generally speaking, most normal humans, if they are greeted with the prospect of a person who does not want anything to do with them, they don't find that person as romantically attractive as they would if that person did want anything to do with them. Because people don't like forcing themselves on people who don't want them. People want to be wanted. It's a simple fundamental aspect of human nature that appears to have gone over these people's heads. Like a fucking frisbee in a game of lawn darts.
Figgy pudding?
Figgy pudding.
You know how to get there from here.
Say, where is my
I'll go and
coat?
grab it, my dear.
You've really been
We'll have
great.
to do this.
Yes,
again.
I agree.
How about the cheesecake
But
factory?
I'm just talking tomorrow.
Taxi at your earliest
At least I've
convenience.
been getting that
Let's
far.
not catch pneumonia. And
Okay, I can't help but laugh at the part where he says we'll have to do this again, and she, even the actress who's singing this for the thing is portraying it like a no shit moment. Like, what do you, it's almost like she's saying, "What the fuck do you think I'm trying to get you to do here?" Like, I think at least possibly the woman in this scenario knows what the fuck is going on, but the guy singing it is either really committed to his bit or really doesn't understand how this works.
All in all, they aren't bad singers. I have to admit to that.
well, they're supposed to be quote unquote normal people. The problem is, of course, some normal people can actually sing.
Oh God, why is it so cold?
Getting chills because of the cold, or
A little bit, yeah. Don't ever live in a room that doesn't have proper insulation when you're in the middle of fucking winter.
or in general, really, but particularly in winter. It's
Okay.
generally not a good idea to live somewhere that's literally dilapidated and falling to pieces.
I didn't choose where I was born.
I know. I'm mocking it because I feel bad for you, and I wish there was something I could do, but I can't do much from 5 states away or whatever. So
Yeah. Holy fuck. I mean, like, it's mostly just my legs. God damn.
do
I
you
could
have
just,
a do you have a blanket handy that you could drape over yourself to make yourself less cold?
I do, but I don't want to get it dirty. It's like pure white. You'd see the dirt instantly. Anyway, figgy pudding.
Figgy pudding.
Be on my
Thanks for
way.
the great night.
Bye.
Bye. Drive safe, please.
Don't watch that episode of Breaking Bad without me.
I won't. I was like,
For fuck's sake.
Okay, the only times where this guy actually seems like he's trying to be romantic are the bits where he's like being horribly sycophantic to her, like he's following her every whim, but he's still not picking up on the one thing she very evidently wants, which is a further romantic situation. And for those social justice advocates out there who think that there's something problematic about Baby It's Cold Outside, I dare you, I double dog dare you, in fact, to watch the gay version from Glee. Because I'll just bet that when you see 2 male characters singing it or 2 female characters singing it, you suddenly get why this isn't a problem. You suddenly get why it's 2 people trying to be romantic and essentially testing each other's affections in a subtle way that's still socially acceptable. But when it's a man and a woman doing it, your brain spits it out and goes, but if he's not doing exactly what she says she wants him to do, then that means he's oppressing her. Or if she's not entirely in control of the relationships, that means she's oppressed somehow because
Oh,
no
for
internalized
fuck's sake.
misogyny. I swear to God, I don't. Again, I'm struck by the fact that if these people were put in charge of the mating, we would have died a long time ago. Because no one would be fucking.
Honestly, I would have
Or
this song be like a date song for me. I don't know why. Not like, again, the original version of Baby It's Cold Outside, like a date song or something.
yeah, I've actually fantasized a lot about whenever I find my potential significant other, I've always fantasized about singing this song with them.
It's not really singing, it's more of playing it as we like kind of just hang out and talk.
Well, but I love to sing. Plus, if I had my way, life would be a musical. So that's probably why my fantasy involves singing it with my significant other at some point.
Could be a wedding song for me, maybe.
Well, I guess if you got married in winter in particular, it probably could be.
Yeah. Why do I have to reveal that I actually have a heart? God damn it.
Because you're a good person deep down.
That's debatable.
Dude, I've known you for almost a year. You are a good person. It's not debatable. You are ac- actually the first word that always comes to my mind when I think of you. It's noble. So Just deal with the fact that at least at heart you are a good person. You have a very hard exterior and a very sort of tough slash overprotective streak in you, but you have a very deep soul, sir. You are extremely thoughtful in a way that most people aren't.
Maybe that's why I keep getting like these weird like emails and texts from people that I think want to bang me or something. And just,
I that's it. That's interesting.
yeah, it's weird. Okay, okay. So Sotana Gaming has said some things. Okay, so what are we doing? The original thing sounded like a date song. I sang this song with my brother before he died. We sang it every year during the winter season. It just brings me to near tears hearing it now that he's gone.
Oh,
Sorry that happened to you, Ahsoka.
it's still a very sweet moment, but I you have my condolences for your loss. I hope he died peacefully and not in any particularly negative way.
Yeah.
And as usual, this got way deeper than we were expecting, but it happens.
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah.
So we're going to be covering Black Widow, the trailer that came out. I think it was a few days ago.
hmm
Teaser trailer, but let's be honest, it's a full trailer.
hmm It's a pretty good trailer, though. I will have to say.
Yeah, my only gripe was that this movie wasn't released earlier in the phases.
Honestly, this should have come out when Captain Marvel did.
I, I honestly said like before or after Age of Ultron.
Yeah, like if this had come out like when Ant-Man did, I think it would have worked really well too.
It's obviously a prequel, and
hmm
uh,
Apparently, it takes place between Civil War and Infinity War.
okay. So Dark Damien, he died from a disease.
Oh.
Sorry to hear that. I've had family who's gone through that kind of shit.
hmm
It's never easy. My condolences.
No, it is not.
Okay, so I will be right back before we start.
hmm So, Ahsoka, where would you put this? Would you put this like in between Iron Man 2 and Thor then? If you were gonna put it in phase one? Or would you have swapped out the Hulk movie for this one?
Okay, I'm back. I've returned. The juice is going right through me tonight.
I feel as though there should be a phrasing there.
Anyway, this movie should have come out like I'd say when every other hero was getting their movie that was a part of the main, and for that Avengers team, if you think about wiping out half the life in the universe, just wiping half the population of each race, I'd say that there, yeah, or like how Iron Man 3 was, or the Hulk movie, that was a bomb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Hulk movie was entirely useless. So yeah,
Yeah.
and also we've already had a Hulk movie, and most people I've talked to consider the Ang Lee movie canon to the MCU, and
Mhm.
I can't say I disagree with them. It fits fine.
Oh, speaking of which, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I have a video list. Actually, I need to make a playlist of that, but I made an entire video series for my rewrite of Avengers Endgame. Actually,
Mhm.
come to think of it, I think I have the prologue written up because I was thinking writing out a full script for that stuff and then like doing readings of it for my channel or here.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure. Maybe we'll do that towards the end. Right.
So in other words, we're in the end game now.
Yeah. Okay. Though I will have to say my only like I have a couple gripes with this trailer and maybe the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but they're superficial at best. Like the first one right here, the um the color grading. Obviously, it's really. I know it's like supposed to be like a spy movie and stuff. It's just like it's super desaturized and stuff. That's like a gripe for me.
Yeah, but Marvel movies are always on the desaturated side for whatever reason.
Yeah, I have
So,
again. That's just a normal, typical gripe I have with Marvel movies. At all in all,
hmm and also he went into film lingo, so everybody drink.
yeah, they had a juice. Um, and in the comics, her and Hawkeye were once villains to the Avengers.
Yes.
Like you could have had Hawkeye and Black Widow in this movie if it replaces the Hulk movie and was an origin movie. Yeah, Budapest.
Yeah, it does kind of annoy me that the first Black Widow movie isn't the Budapest movie because
Because that was
they
hyped up, honestly.
yeah, they made such a big deal about what happened in Budapest. I was like, okay, so this is gonna take place before the first Avengers, and it's gonna focus on the Budapest thing, right? Nope, it's what she was doing in between Civil War and Infinity War because reasons. Honestly, it would kind of be interesting if each Black Widow movie kept happening earlier and earlier. So like the last Black Widow movie will be in between uh in between Iron Man 2 and the Avengers so that it's the Budapest thing and then Hawkeye can show up. But at the same time I'm like you had the opportunity to do a Black Widow movie and you didn't use the Budapest thing. Are you high?
Because all in all, that could be like where Hawkeye and Nat became best friends.
Yeah, where Clint and Natasha did their thing.
Yeah.
Presumably following the adventures of Moose and Squirrel. Zing.
Figgy pudding?
Figgy pudding.
I used to have nothing. And then I got this job, this family.
It is already so much better than like the first second of Captain Marvel. like the movie compared to this trailer.
Of course, that is not a high bar to clear. It honestly looks about on par with Captain America: Winter Soldier already.
Yeah, I always like so many people have said that too. Is that it, and I get that too. It's like it's like a political thriller spy movie.
Yeah, it's basically the female equivalent of like Jason Bourne, is what I'm getting, or like a female equivalent of John Wick almost. Speaking of which, if they do a sequel to this, someone get the John Wick directors on a Black Widow sequel. I want to see that movie.
Hmm. Like I'd love the Budapest thing. These people probably want the movie to fail or not make as much as it could have.
The SJWs, I'm sure, are hoping that this makes less money than Captain Marvel, but I have a strong feeling that this is gonna actually perform closer to like one of the latter two Avengers movies. I want this movie to make like 2 billion, prove that Black Widow is more popular and more substantive than Captain Marvel.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, they're gonna point at her box, or they're gonna point at her box office and go, "See, Captain people like Captain Marvel better because it made more money, her dear." And then
All right.
we're gonna be stuck with Carl Manvers the entire fucking rest of the MCU.
All right. Like they could have made it, and this movie is so much better. It looks as good as Captain America: The First Avenger. Jason Bourne, it's James Bond.
I wouldn't say it looks as good as Captain America: The First Avenger. I'm weird, but I actually like the first Captain America movie the best out of all three of them. They're all
Um,
good. They're all great movies. I'm just saying I like the first Avenger the best out of all three. But I realize that I'm weird because of that, and I also like Winter Soldier the least out of all of them.
See, that's weird. I actually like Winter Soldier the most. Well, with it being the first Avenger, second, and Civil War being the last.
But I think we can all agree that the Captain America movies are the most consistently good out of all of the movies, out of all of the franchises so far.
Hmm.
Hopefully, Guardians 3 will be good, and then we'll have another consistently awesome franchise. But for now, Captain America has the best track record for the entire MCU,
Hmm.
which is kind of bad.
I'm going to see it in theaters, says Ahsoka Tano Gaming.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, same. All right. Plus, I like how it's filmed. It looks cinematic.
Yeah, it has a darker edge to it than the other MCU movies, and personally, I hope they keep that going. I hope they learned a little bit from Joker and Logan, and they keep the darker edge a little bit.
The one thing I am hoping is that they
Mhm.
don't use. There's no overuse of CGI. It's more practical stuff.
I mean, I'm sure there will be some CGI, but
No,
this
no, no.
is
I mean like too
yeah.
like too much to where you.
Yeah, but this is street level enough that I don't think they'll need to. They basically just basically just need to take every like gritty action like spy action movie of the last 5 years or so and make a comic book equivalent of that.
Yeah.
And they already got pretty damn close with Winter Soldier, so they basically just need to do that again, but a little darker and a little grittier and a little more Black Widowy.
Hmm. I do too, but I like Civil War in the middle. In my opinion, the Iron Man series and Captain America have the best movies in the MCU.
I don't know. Iron Man 2 and 3 are iffy at best, in my opinion.
I don't know. I like. Okay, here's my list. Here's how I rank it with the Iron Man movies: Iron Man 3, Iron Man, and Iron Man 2.
You like Iron Man 3 better than the first Iron Man?
Well, honestly, I would say they're kind of more in the it's a tie between those two.
I can't say that I like Iron Man 3 because I wanted the real Mandarin, and they didn't give me the real Mandarin yet.
Yeah, no,
Hopefully-
I get that. It's just I don't know. It kind of made me remember like the guy who Shane Black, director
Yeah.
of that movie. I like his
Mhm.
work and stuff. So
Mhm.
he made Lethal Weapon. So come on, it's just
Yeah, but that being said, I want my weird cosmic space wizard thing, and I didn't get it yet.
Mhm.
Hopefully, I get it with Shang-Chi, because the Mandarin is supposed to be there, and it's supposed to be the real one. So Marvel, give me my weird cosmic space wizard. I want these.
I'd like there to be some CGI, but only be for like say massive explosions or gore. Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, I agree with that. And also, I don't mind like if one set piece is mostly CGI.
Mm-hmm.
It's just again my
The one thing is, I want this to be the last street level movie for a while, because I am so beyond bored with street level shit. This looks good, so I'll give it a chance, and it'll probably be about as good as Captain America: Winter Soldier. But I want the weird shit that I like the comics for already. Damn it,
All right, ready? Figgy pudding.
figgy pudding.
But nothing lasts forever. Heard you had to leave in a hurry. It's never easy these days. So what are you going to do? I've lived a lot of lives, but I'm done running from my past.
Music on point. I think a lot of people thought this character was hold on, yeah, find it. Some of it. Okay, at first I thought it was set way before even Iron Man 2, but I can kind of see the blonde in her hair now, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I really hope this music makes it into the movie, because this music really works for Black Widow's like tone.
And plus, I do like it that they're going to different cities and stuff, like places that aren't just in America and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Black Widow, international woman of mystery, basically.
Yeah. Okay. I think a lot of people thought this guy right here, I think his name is Thaddeus, was a de-aged Thunderbolt Ross.
Well, he is, because Thaddeus Ross is Thunderbolt Ross.
Oh.
Yeah, played by Robert Redford.
Uh-huh. Why would they de-age him though if it's set between? Makes no sense.
Because it's set between Winter Soldier and or not Winter Soldier, but Civil War and Infinity War, and Robert Redford is getting older.
But
So
he was the same age as he was in. He looked as old. I don't know. It makes no sense to me because he looks the same age in both movies.
Well, probably because when what year did Civil War come out? Was it 2016? I think it was.
Yeah, and Infinity War came out 2018, so 2 years.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago. So and by this time it'll be 4 years ago. So he probably does need a little de-aging, just because he's getting up there in years.
Yeah, I don't know. He looks a little too young to me.
Well, keep in mind it's also early days for the CGI, so they'll probably fix it later. Once they
Yeah.
give
I
it a
don't know.
few.
The funny part is that the CGI for the de-aging isn't bad. It's more of he just looks too young to the Ross I've seen in the movies.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, maybe they'll fix it with a few more passes over in the old rendering studio.
Yeah.
Figure pudding.
And also I have to admit, get your drinks ready, folks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna gush a little bit about the cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
It is fucking phenomenal. It's not basic shit that most Marvel movies have done.
True. It very much does feel like a spy thriller.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. It kind of harkens back to some of like Daniel Craig's Bond movies, like Skyfall, Spectre,
Yeah.
Casino Royale.
Which honestly, this looks way better than all of those because I really don't like the Daniel Craig Bond movies.
We're not talking about the new one, by the way. We're not going to cover that trailer. I don't want it.
Oy vey, that thing.
Yeah, we're not covering that. It's too much of a pain. But yeah, no, I like it. I like how it looks. Again, my problem is desaturation, but spy movie and all, there's obviously some desaturation. That's
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Plus, again, this is early days for the project, so maybe some of that will be fixed in post. Anyway, figure pudding.
I know you're out there.
I know you know I'm out here. So we're gonna talk like grown-ups?
Is that what we are?
So, okay, another gush for filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
I like how the sets are kind of made to look like actual buildings instead of like just blank warehouse kind of space.
Yeah. Of course, this movie is probably significantly cheaper than a lot of the other Marvel movies, so they can afford to spend more of the budget on like sets and stuff.
Yeah. It just has this kind of authentic feel to it that I don't even think Endgame had with like the Avengers compound.
No, there were a lot of problems with Endgame, but yeah, that was one of them.
Yeah, because it just didn't feel like a home, you know? Like there was no personal items or anything there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was clutter and stuff, which obviously is normal for someone living there, but still.
Yeah, but there were no like, this is Captain America's space, this is War Machine space, this is Thor's space, etc.
Which is why I kind of like the Avengers Tower in Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just seemed more like a house.
Yeah.
Along with a pool table.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I actually like pool.
That doesn't surprise me.
Is it the tough guy thing?
Yeah. Once again, that's very stereotypical tough guy behavior.
I'm not even that good at it. I just like playing it.
If we ever meet up, we'll have to find somewhere that we can play it.
So I didn't notice this before because I wasn't doing it frame by frame.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little smirk on Nat as she has like as she and Yelena have guns pointing at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like right before she's about to take it, I presume.
Yeah, kind of like a sisterly, like, oh, you kind of look, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Yelena looks like all business.
Well, she's probably, if I had to guess, just based on the trailer, I suspect that she's going to be sort of the older sister archetype. which means being slightly more serious than Nat, because Nat strikes me as the archetypical like troublemaking little sister.
Hmm. Again, I like the camera angle from up above. Who's Yelvana? Or Yelana, I guess is her name. I don't know. I just saw her name pop up here when she was speaking.
Mhm.
I guess she's supposed to be like kind of another Black Widow of sorts.
Yes.
So. Also, the fighting looks pretty good too.
Yeah, it's very well choreographed. You definitely feel like these people know what they're doing as far as fighting goes.
Yeah. Also, I think it's mostly the actual actresses doing this stuff,
Yeah,
which I respect a lot.
yeah. It takes a lot of balls to do your own stunts. So yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned it, but like for a few things I did for like my for a class I did for filmmaking in high school, there were some things I required to do like a couple stunts, like where I had to fall and stuff.
Hmm.
I did that all myself because we didn't have money for stunt doubles, and there was no one who looked like me.
You mentioned it. You mentioned it once, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure if. First of all, I don't think I would be casted in any roles that would require me to do stunts because I don't look. I don't look like the kind of person who gets involved in those kind of scrapes. Um, I'm more of the. I think in like a spy movie context, I would be the like hacker type that would be like doing everything from a secure location and secretly talking to the main character through a headpiece.
Well, yeah, mostly for me, for stunt work, it was mostly like falling and stuff.
Hmm. Did they make you do the trust exercise?
No.
Thank God. Because that to me is the most patronizing thing. Like, what do you mean trust exercise? I don't trust any of these people. Fuck off.
All right. Figgy pudding.
Figgy pudding.
It's good to see you too, sis.
What brings you home?
We have unfinished business. We have to go back to where it all started.
Again, I'm really loving this musical sting here. Please tell me it makes it into the movie somewhat.
Yeah, I like it too. It's not a Black Widow movie if Black Widow isn't riding on a motorcycle.
Yeah, that fits with the character and her skills, or as Liam Neeson would say, her very particular set of skills.
You know what's weird? I think this might be the same place where they shot Jason Bourne.
Wouldn't
Like the
surprise
original.
me. Hollywood has a tendency to recycle locations when they can.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like I don't know. Like the architecture of the buildings looks familiar.
Hmm.
So
I wonder if any parts of Black Widow were shot on location, or if it was all shot on like sound stages.
I hope location.
I hope so too. But I don't remember any like pictures coming through of Black Widow shooting on location. And usually when Marvel movies shoot on location, they're like pictures. Like when Doctor Strange was shooting on location in New York, they definitely and London, they definitely leaked pictures of that. So yeah, I'd be really impressed if this all was from a soundstage.
I really hope not.
Yeah, because it gives it a lot more organic. It gives it a lot more organic feel when it's actually happening. But I'd still be impressed at like production design wise if this was like a soundstage and done with CG. Because I definitely can't tell that it is.
Actually, there is a
Definitely
way
HG.
that was pointed out to me when watching a review of Endgame.
Hmm.
The way you can tell is like the background is kind of given the shallow depth of focus to hide how bad the CGI is.
Mm-hmm. And once again, he went all film studies professor. So drink.
I need to get more juice. I'll be right back.
Well, you needed to do that anyway, so that you can deal with your cold there. So
Right. Also, when we all, because like they had a poster of it they released first for the show, they kind of revealed the costume for Black Widow.
mm-hmm.
I gotta admit, I didn't like the original how it looked like in the drawing of the poster, but like on screen it looks pretty cool. Looks good. Maybe that's just like I don't know. Maybe that's just my problem with like the artist who drew that or something.
Well, posters for the MCU aren't ever anything to write home about, really. It's always either character in like pose or character with their back to the camera, or character like standing gruffly in the foreground.
Right. I will be right back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I like the look of Black Widow in the movie and stuff. It's just
Mm-hmm. 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 Silver bells, silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Children laughing, people passing, meeting smile after smile. In the air there's a feeling of Christmas. Hear the snow crunch, see the kids rush. This is Santa's big scene. And above all the bustle you'll hear silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. What's another one I can do off the top of my head?
I have returned.
Huzzah.
Yeah. Do we have anything else to add before we move on, or?
No, we can figure pudding.
Oh, right. This is obviously CGI. The whole like breaking tower thing.
Mm-hmm.
In quick motion, it actually looks pretty good, but frame by frame, it doesn't.
And again, a lot of this probably will be resolved in the coming passes over of the rendering, because this is still like 6 or 7 months before this movie even comes out.
Yeah, May 2020, I believe.
Yeah, so
Right.
December.
Again, I'm just nitpicking at this part at this point.
Mm-hmm. Because he has the soul of a film studies professor, apparently.
I do like this shot though, like the kind of office place with like single beam of light and just how it looks. Again, that's just me gushing about like the set dressing of it all.
Yeah, it's all extremely well shot. It looks a lot better even than most spy movies these days, except for maybe John Wick, which always looks amazing. But again, that just goes to show that if this movie is successful, and it should be, get the directors of John Wick, one or both of them, to do the next Black Widow movie. I want that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Figgy pudding.
Right.
Where it all started. Lucky us. One thing's for sure. It's gonna be a hell of a reunion.
Still fits. Family. Big together.
Okay. A lot in these 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm. For the record, that character, the Russian guy with the beard, is
Red
supposed to be
Guardian.
kind of like the Russian equivalent of Captain America.
Mm-hmm. Oh. So you got Black Widow in the white suit. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and do we even need to talk about how well Scarlett Johansson fills out that costume? Because it's kind of obvious to everybody.
Right. So we have Black Widows being trained, which is always cool.
Mm-hmm. I hope they at least address the subplot from Age of Ultron where all the Black Widows are sterilized. But I don't think Disney would allow it because of how much shit they got over that decision in Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm. So we have a first look at Taskmaster on screen instead of like concept art and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I don't mind it. I do remember someone bringing this up, is that the mask reminded them of a motorcycle helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Still, it's not worth taking them to task over.
Right. It's not bad. I just wish they could have like done maybe have a hood or something like Taskmaster.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you don't know who Taskmaster is, he is a character who's gone up against all the Avengers, giving them a run for their money. Basically, if he sees your fighting techniques, he can copy it.
I don't know if they ever established that he can use magic though. Like if he saw Doctor Strange doing his movements, would he be able to extrapolate the spell? Or
I thought it was fighting techniques.
Yeah, I pretty much was sure it's just martial arts stuff, but it would be interesting if he could like copy spells though.
Yeah. So he has a bow and arrow here. So it kind of makes me think he might have studied Hawkeye at one point.
Or perhaps that we will see Hawkeye in the movie and he'll pick it up from there. Because that's the other thing about Taskmaster is he kind of has a photographic memory to where he only needs to watch you for a few seconds and he'll already have pieced together your fighting style.
I kind of assume that he's had years of training or like physical preparation and training of his body
Mm-hmm.
to be able to match all these highly like people who took years to train for their martial arts and skills and stuff.
And or have very superhuman abilities and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's because that did cross my mind at one point is if he can, then does he train at all or something? The question that popped into my mind.
Presumably, the reason why he is so capable of mimicking people's fighting styles is because he has an encyclopedia, an encyclopedia of fighting. So he's basically like evil Batman with a
Right.
photographic memory. I'm honestly kind of wondering if Taskmaster the Comedian and Mysterio all got together, could they fake superhero attacks? Or not the comedian, but the chameleon. Did I say comedian or did I say chameleon?
You just said
Never mind.
comedian first.
That's what I thought. But yeah, if Taskmaster, Mysterio, and the chameleon all got together, they could basically fake superhero attacks.
Mm-hmm. Someone at Marvel, someone who's actually a competent fucking writer, get on that storyline.
So in other words, just Donny Cates then,
Probably.
or Chip Zdarsky,
Mm-hmm.
who is surprisingly competent even though he had a rocky start.
Yeah. So we have David Harbour as Red Guardian here at a facility. I think there was like a Russian equivalent to like the Avengers. I don't know what they were called.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I find funny is that David Harbour, because we did cover an article before on David Harbour when he was in Hellboy.
Yeah.
He kind of gave shit to Marvel, didn't he?
Yes. And presumably then Hellboy bombed and he went, okay, so maybe I don't know everything about everything.
No, that was after. He gave shit to Marvel after Hellboy bombed.
Are you sure it wasn't before? I thought it was before.
No, it was after. I remember. Like that's
because wasn't that the week we that was the week we had Dirt Wonder on, right?
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure that was before Hellboy came out. I could have sworn.
No, he said that the reason why the Hellboy bombed was because everyone was flocking to Marvel because
spoiled for Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. So in other words, fuck you, David, for trying to make excuses for just making a bad movie.
Yeah. And now he's kind of done I don't know if he's done a 180 or not, but he's in a Marvel movie now. Though
his ego took enough of a beating that he's willing to do a Marvel movie.
Though, granted, I would say that Black Widow might be kind of not a typical Marvel movie, obviously. So
true, but it is still a Marvel movie, and it's as much of a Marvel movie, I think, as Captain America: Winter Soldier was. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Figgy Pudding.
We gotta bring up the suit of Red Guardian. Right? I think it looks pretty cool. There is a little weirdness within the fact that it looks doesn't look. It looks like one of those like cosplay skin suits that you would put on.
But then again, I think that's accounted for by the fact that it specifically said in the trailer that he's gotten fat. So it's
not that. It's not that. It's just it doesn't look like an actual uniform /suit is my thing.
True.
Like, I know that's the, and I assume that Red Guardian's been retired for some time.
Yes. His employment has gone further and further into the red.
Overall, it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty cool, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, so these three women here are Black Widows, I assume.
I think so, yeah.
Red Guardian, he says family.
Family. Back together again.
David Harbour's Russian accent is pretty good, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Though it does come, honestly, whenever I hear someone do a Russian accent, it does kind of come off as generic to me, but maybe that's just...
Da, comrade. Da.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say. But, he says that, and I assume that they all know each other, right?
Yeah.
Maybe at one point, because Natasha did escape that life of being a...
Yeah. The Black Widows are basically super spies that are sort of an elite part of the Russian military, basically. So naturally, Red Guardian, who is basically the Russian equivalent of Captain America, would probably have met them and worked with them at some point.
Yeah.
You got fat.
My only problem with David Harbour playing Red Guardian is now he can't play Wolverine eventually, and I kind of wanted him as the next Wolverine.
Right. You know what's funny? And I sent you like an article about this, is that people got up in arms about the "you got fat" joke.
Because something demeaning men, something.
No. Body shaming.
Oh, for crying out! Like, as annoying as I thought the "you can't make fun of a male character because it's demeaning to men" thing, and I'm an MRA, so if anyone's gonna take offense to something like that, that would be me. But to take offense to it because body shaming is just fucking stupid.
Hey, kind of fat guy here. I take no offense with it. It's funny. Plus, it's camaraderie. It's banter. It's
It's an old friend of yours coming and seeing like, wow, you are out of shape compared to how you once were.
Yeah.
And so
Plus, if I remember correctly, this character, Melina, and Red Guardian, I think were married at one point.
I think so, yeah.
So ex-wife, ex-husband thing. It's,
It'd be like if someone saw me and then said something like, "Wow, you need to get some sun." Like, if it was someone just randomly, I might feel a little bit like you're a dick. But if it was someone who knew me and knew how skinny and pale I was, I probably would laugh at them and then come up with some snarky asshole-ish thing to say in response.
Oh, hey, I just noticed there's a Taskmaster's shield in the floor. Looks like embedded. So, I'm thinking that Red Guardian caught it and threw it to the ground.
He threw it on the ground.
No,
You
threw
must
it.
think.
He didn't throw it onto the ground. He threw it into the ground.
Yeah.
It looks like, yeah, it does look like it's embedded.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe it just fell from a place that's really high up. Like, have you ever seen someone like drop a pencil from the top of the Empire State Building? You seen those videos?
Dude, it's in the side of the floor. Like, it looks like it got thrown into it. So,
Interesting.
well, like I said, Red Guardian is supposed to be like Russian Captain America, right?
Yeah.
So I assume he got like super soldiered.
Yeah. And
Oh.
in an off-brand formula, but yeah.
Yeah, he should have super strength of some kind.
Yeah. Or should I say da, because Russian.
Yeah. Alright. Overall, yeah. Movie looks pretty good. It's gonna have a lot of action. I hope, and again, this is me, so I hope the characters are well written and aren't just like fucking caricatures. I don't really think it's gonna happen.
Rain so obsessed over character. Drink.
Yeah.
Anyway, pea pudding.
That's it.
Or is it? Okay, that's. I like the bit where they're skydiving. That seems very, very actiony in both a spy movie way and a superhero movie way. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. Plus the fact that bad guys were grabbing guns and shooting at her as they were descending.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like a very much 80s action movie trope thing.
Yeah, I could definitely see like what's a bombshell from the 80s, like a extremely attractive actress from the 80s, like what's her name? I can't think of like Linda Hamilton or uh Jamie Lee Curtis or someone like that. Sigourney Weaver. Could definitely see a young Sigourney Weaver doing something like that. And then in an 80s version of this, Red Guardian probably would have been played by Arnold.
Probably.
Arnold circa about Junior probably would be when they would cast him. Or maybe circa about Predator. I could definitely see them doing the "you son of a bitch" arm squeeze thing again.
Right at this moment, we're just waiting for the Mary Sue article to finish loading, which it has now. And this was, I sent this one to Don just because I knew he wanted to check this one out.
Basically, the Mary Sue thinks they can speak intelligently about my shit, and surprising no one, they fail miserably. So I'm gonna have to do what I'm here to do, and then put these people into their place. So
Don't worry, it won't be ending on a high note, folks. Yeah. It's probably gonna be Dalton's show for now because I think I'm starting to tune out.
like I said, if you feel like we need to call it early, we can.
No, I'll be fine. It's just, god damn.
You should go lay down after we're done.
Probably. No, thank you. I do not want any notifications.
Certainly not for the Mary freaking Sue. Oh God.
Okay.
What kind of hell would that be? Okay, but anyway.
Okay. The Pagan Power of Frozen 2 by Jessica Mason.
Just for the record, you all brought this on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Give me a moment. You know, if I can. Okay. When I say that Frozen 2 was a profound spiritual experience for me, I know that makes me sound a bit insane, but it's nevertheless true, and I know from conversations I've had in the week since the film's release that I'm not alone. For me, it spoke to my own spiritual practice as a Wiccan and student of goddess lore, but it works on a deeper level too.
Okay, so I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about the fact that a Wiccan writes for the Mary Sue. Let's just say that as a long-time practicing occultist, this annoys me on a level that I don't think can be adequately expressed. Because I know most people, and myself included, sometimes mock Wicca for being kind of lackadaisical and woo, but this kind of shit is why. A woman who writes for the Mary Sue and is also a Wiccan is not a good representative for Wicca. There are intelligent Wiccans. I have met several. I know several. But for every intelligent Wiccan, there's like 50 coffee shop Wiccans who see magic and spirituality as nothing more than a fashion statement. Like the spiritual equivalent of one of those little annoying dogs that Valley Girl hipsters put in their purses. And I have a strong suspicion that this is what this is going to be. But you opened this door on yourself, dear, so I'm going to hold you to your own standards. So you best say something actually intelligible here, or I'm going to be very, very pissed at you. Spoiler alert, it's the Mary Sue, so they're probably not going to say much intelligible. But, again, you brought this on yourself, and now I'm forced to judge you on magical grounds. Continue.
All right. Okay. Frozen 2 is an amazing film that takes its heroine on a profound journey, and in doing so, it touches on elements of paganism and goddess archetypes in a way that's rare and astonishing.
Okay, even in the context of Wicca, my darling, you can't just focus on the goddess. In Wicca, there is a binary sort of spiritual system where the feminine qualities of nature are deferred to the goddess archetype, and the masculine aspects of nature are deferred to the god archetype. And the problem with most Wiccans is they're only interested in the feminine half of that, because as much as I hate to admit it, Gerald Gardner, who founded modern day Wicca, was a male feminist. And the main reason he created Wicca was basically so he could have a spiritually valid excuse to have a bunch of orgies with his friends. So yeah, Wicca is basically the hipster equivalent of magic.
I feel like Corrupt would really like that Wicca.
The prospect of getting a bunch of women naked and making them dance for him, probably.
I was thinking about him wanting to be part of the orgies, but okay.
Well, but that's the thing that I find funny about Gerald Gardner. Yes, there's some actual scholarship involved in Wicca, but for the most part, a lot of the early Gardnerian witchcraft rituals focused on women getting naked and dancing in front of the high priest, which was always invariably him. So I can't help but think there was some self-interest involved there. Not judging him for that, but let's be honest, there was some part of you that enjoyed naked women dancing for you. Wasn't there,
I
Jared?
think I can judge him.
Yeah, you can judge him, but I'm not going to judge him. We all have needs, but that's still kind of creepy.
I mean, like, it's creepy. I do judge him. A part of me can kind of understand, but it's still, what the fuck, man?
It was the 60s.
Still, though.
Mm-hmm. But this is why the 60s has the or one of the examples of why the 60s has the representation it has.
Right.
Because someone could conjure up a religion from scraps of badly sourced anthropology and basically use it as an excuse to have orgies and have naked dance parties with girls.
Kinda glad I don't really practice magic then, or that type of magic at least.
Well, this is the thing. As far as the actual rituals in Wicca go, there's not a lot of magic involved. I would say Wicca is about it's about 40% religion to about 60% magic. Most Wiccans don't do all of the what are called Sabbath rituals, which are basically just like sacred days or holy days that involve like sort of symbolic rituals more so than actual magic ones. But for the percentage that do, yeah, it's mostly just an excuse to get in touch with the sort of animalistic side of human nature, which often involves this kind of shit. Most people nowadays don't do that, and even most Gardnerian Wiccans probably don't even do that. But originally, there was a lot more. There was a lot more connection between Wicca and the sexual revolution of the 60s.
Right, okay, so, well, hold on. So, Sokotaro Gaming is with us again. Wicca is a practice of magic. We're talking about a Mary Sue article talking about the pagan power of Frozen 2. This is mostly going to be Dawn's show because my throat is killing me and I don't really think I have the capacity to give my thoughts.
Yeah, also, Ahsoka, you spelled it wrong. Wicca is typically spelled with 2 C's instead of a K.
Yeah. So moving forward.
Yeah, it's a religion that has magical aspects to it, basically.
Yeah.
It was created in the 60s when an anthropology student named Gerald Gardner decided to revive ancient paganism as an excuse to impress his feminist friends and also give a spiritually valid reason for orgies and dancing and basically primal animalistic shit. Anyway, moving on.
People were really fucked up back then, weren't they?
The 60s was a very strange time.
Yeah.
Remind me to tell you about Terence McKenna sometime.
I know about Burning Man.
Yeah, that was a affectation of the 60s. So yeah.
Right, okay. Fair warning, we are going to deep spoiler territory for this examination, so if you haven't seen Frozen 2, be warned. I don't really care.
I neither care. I both don't care and have seen the movie. So yeah.
When I talk about paganism, it means a few things, and that works because the paganism of Frozen 2 exists on several levels. The term, I'm sorry. Don?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something.
No. I didn't say anything.
Okay. The term pagan was first used to refer to people who weren't Christian, and pagan religion can mean anything from pre-Christian to or non-monotheistic religion to specific religious beliefs and practices that still exist to this day in the form neo-pagan religions like Wicca, and we'll be talking about the movie in both such terms.
Okay, here's my problem. This is one of the reasons I don't consider myself a pagan. Even though I suppose technically you could consider, like, you could consider me one. I don't give a fuck about the actual religious implications of magic. I'm interested in magic for its own sake, because magic is essentially taking the metaphysical and applying rational standards to it. I don't really serve any particular deities or any particular spirits, aside from the ones that I actively seek to gain a contract with. But even then, when I deal with spirits and entities, I deal with them like friends or business partners. I don't pray to deities. I find this to be extremely I find this to be extremely minimalizing on the part of the person who's praying to them, and extremely dick-headed on the part of the deity that would require prayers. Because here's the thing: how great of a god can you be if you require people to basically grovel at your feet every 5 minutes? As far as I'm concerned, that's just a predilection of mine. But I've never had a whole lot of respect for deities that require excessive amounts of prayer. And like I say, for me, gods are a fact of existence, but they are also just another kind of being. Gods deserve no more or less respect than any other kind of being. The respect you give to any kind of being should be proportional to the way that being acts, i.e., if a god deserves my respect, then they will have it. If they don't deserve my respect, then they can fuck off just as easily as everyone else can, as far as I'm concerned. And the same goes for demons, angels, fairies, jinn, etc., etc., etc.
People.
Yeah, especially people. But yeah. But my point being, I don't consider myself a pagan because I actually don't give a shit about the religious aspect of my practices. I am interested in the techniques and the abilities that those techniques grant. I'm interested in magic as a rational way of understanding the metaphysical without the spiritual and moralistic woo. I don't need my spirituality to dictate my morality. Morality is a factor of philosophy, and I can come up with that on my own terms. If spirituality is useful at all, it should be useful for things and not just to make me feel good, as far as I'm concerned. And as far as neo-paganism goes, I find most modern day neo-paganism to be extremely ideological and not very well sourced scholarly wise. There's a huge difference between modern day neo-paganism and ancient Roman or older paganism, for example. One of the ways I've heard it referred to by people who actually seem to know what the fuck they're talking about is modern day neo-paganism is old paganism with all of the intense stuff taken out. It's basically a spiritual system without any primal sort of oomph or power to it, and I'm not interested in that. The power, for me, the power is the point. So why would I be interested in a spiritual system that basically removes or sanitizes all the actual primal energy of the spiritual system? Anyway, rant over. We need to get through this. So hit me with your best shot.
Well, Storytime Gaming says, so kind of like Dragon Ball Z's Kami.
What's that in reference to, Ahsoka? I can't really tell from.
Yeah, I'm not a big DBZ fan.
Well, I'm a big enough fan of DBZ to know what you're talking about. I'm just confused what that refers to in relation to what I was just saying.
Yeah. So while she gives us that answer, we will continue on.
Yeah.
Paganism in many ways is the opposite of Christianity. Whereas the Christian tradition focuses on a single God who holds power and grants salvation, pagan worldview sees not only many gods and goddesses, but also divine power in all things, especially nature.
Okay, that's a bit of an oversimplification of both paganism and Christianity.
Okay. She answered business partner.
Kind of.
Or like mentor role.
Yeah, like when I talk to a deity, I talk to that deity for a specific purpose. And for me and most magicians who do what are referred to as evocation, which admittedly is something I'm fairly new to. I'm still studying sort of the ins and outs of how you actually go about summoning something, because it's a very complex form of magic. But when you talk to a deity, you're supposed to talk to it on equal grounds. You're not supposed to be fearful of whatever you're contacting when it comes to summoning. Because for one thing, if you approach a being with fear, oftentimes they just won't show up because they consider you essentially too weak to work with. And B, some of the entities you might work with through evocation are likely to take advantage of you if you approach them with fear. So it's advised under most normal circumstances that you should approach these entities essentially with a spine, and you should be very straightforward with what you hope to get from them, whether that's something concrete like, wealth, health, etc., or whether it's just I called you because I want to talk to you and deal with things that way. Interestingly, I'm hoping when I get good at evocation to eventually evoke the ancient Greek god of dreams who is named Morpheus, because because obviously I'm a big fan of Sandman, and part of me thinks that Sandman might have been divinely inspired by the entity that the Greeks knew as Morpheus. So I kind of want to summon him just to have a conversation with him and see how that goes. I'm not really hoping to get much out of it, aside from maybe getting art back on track, because the world needs the Lord of Dreams again, apparently, because we suck without him. We really, really do.
I take offense to that.
That's it. Huh?
I take offense to that.
You shouldn't.
I'm obviously making a joke. Just
Well, yeah. I know. I'm just. I didn't really know. I didn't really know how to respond to that, so I went with the deadpan option. But yeah, on average, human beings suck at creating art without some kind of inspiration. So we need to get our sources of inspiration back, as far as I'm concerned. But like I said, I'm still working on evocation.
Well, let me know how that actually, when you actually get to that, let me know how it actually goes.
I'm planning on making a video when all is said and done to explain how that goes.
Don't get yourself killed.
I also have other entities in mind that I want to work with, but that's neither here nor there, and that I should probably keep secret for now until I have a better grasp on how to fucking do it. But point being, getting back to her little summation there. In the pre-Christian or pagan conception of the world, essentially everything is made out of energy. This is a point of view we call animism, and the gods are essentially the intelligences of the forces of nature. So to say that paganism is just a religion with many gods is kind of stupid, because essentially what you want with most actual ancient forms of paganism is you worship the gods or you connect with the gods in order to control or at least have some say over those forces of nature. In fact, most houses in ancient Rome had what were referred to as household gods or household spirits that were supposed to be like protective entities, sort of like spiritual guard dogs. And even like roads and stuff would have beings that were supposed to sort of preside over them. This is where we get the modern notion of the deals made at the crossroads, because you were supposed to literally go to a crossroad and make deals with the entity that presided over those crossroads, because it was thought that crossroads were symbolically linked to the crossroads of dimensions, i.e., the intermediary space between like the world of the living and the world of the underworld and so on.
So, Soka asked a question. Can you try to contact ghosts by doing that?
You can, but frankly, I'm not. My stance on that is I don't really have any interest in ghosts, because if I don't find human beings interesting enough while they're alive, why would I find them any more interesting after they're dead? I'm much more interested in contacting non-human entities like gods, angels, fairies, or even demons. Though I'm not an idiot, so I'm not going to be working with many demons, if any, because that would be stupid.
Mm-hmm.
The darkest thing that I probably would consider working with are jinn, which are sort of Islamic fire spirits. Interestingly, though, most beings that we currently refer to as like angels or jinn or the like were gods, were considered gods before the advent of monotheism. Like most angels in Christianity and Judaism were actually tribal gods that existed in the Middle East before the advent of Judaism, and they basically got demoted. And then it got quiet.
Sotan Gaming just said a few things. Is one talked to my grandfather again, and the house he lived in has had paranormal activity since he passed away.
If you were going to try connecting with him, Ahsoka, I would wait until Halloween, because Halloween is supposed to be the time when the veils between worlds are thinnest. And if you actually would want to do something like that, let me know, and I will hit the books, and I will try to get you a decent recipe for a spell for that. Because I know those spells do exist, and I'm trying to mentally go through them in my head, but I'd have to look them up. Because I unfortunately don't have as much of a photographic memory as I once did.
Mm-hmm. So moving on.
Hmm.
Paganism in the modern day is deeply rooted in recognition and veneration of the female divine, often in terms of the mother, great mother goddess. In religions like Wicca, the divine power in everything and everyone is seen as something that can be bent and worked with in what we call magic.
Again, that is grossly oversimplifying. For one thing, and thank you for confirming that you are one of these people, my darling. The idea is you're supposed to venerate both the masculine and the feminine, because the idea is that these energies, and that's exactly what they are, these energies are useful for different things. One of the reasons why it baffles me that social justice advocates can get so deeply into new agey Wiccan shit, because you would think that people who believe that masculinity and femininity are nothing but arbitrary social constructs couldn't abide by the notion that these concepts are rooted directly in kinds of spiritual energy. That's kind of a direct contradiction when you think about it. Are they arbitrary social constructs that basically come out of people's heads, or are they forces of nature that are rooted in primal forces of energy? These are kind of mutually exclusive things. But yes, dear, you're supposed to venerate both the masculine and the feminine, because the masculine side of energy is what gives um spells sort of solidity. They're what make things concrete. The feminine is what makes things intuitive. The feminine is traditionally considered to be the realm of the emotion, whereas the masculine is traditionally considered to be the realm of the mind. And again, your definition of magic needs a lot of work as well. Magic, put simply, and I have studied a lot of different forms of magic, so I have looked into many different systems. But magic primarily is the manipulation of life energy. This has to do with the idea of paganism as you define it, because in the ancient conception of the world, everything was essentially created out of primal life energy. Essentially, in particular in the Hermetic tradition, which is sort of my area of expertise, there's a notion that the creator god, the Egyptians referred to him as Atem, the Tibetans simply refer to it as the oneness. But regardless, there's this notion that there was a primal sort of pool of energy, and this is what you could call God. And this entity basically created the universe to sort of balance itself out, because in this energy was every conceivable contradictory impulse, every hot, cold, warlike, peaceful, etc., etc. And these contradictory impulses unbalance this energy. So in order to balance itself out, it put that energy to work, creating the universe. And incidentally, at least as far as Hermeticists are concerned, that could explain why the universe is still expanding, because there are still contradictory energies that need to be worked out. It's funny, but in a lot of weird ways, the sort of spiritual tradition of Hermeticism predicted the Big Bang before science did. But I'm not going to go any further into that, because that could lead to me getting egotistical, and I'm not going to do that. But yeah, your understanding of magic is childish and and incomplete so far, my darling. It has nothing to do with the gods or their own whims. It has to do with the basic manipulation of the things that everything is made of, namely life energy. can disagree with this worldview, but you should at least understand what your own worldview is supposed to be here. And if you have some scholarship that validates your worldview over mine, I would like to see it, because I have done 13 years of work on this topic and you don't appear to know shit. Anyway, let's continue. I'm getting unnecessarily angry at this person now.
So Ahsoka said some stuff. I will think it over, since I don't know if my father and aunt would want me doing that, and I need to know if they yet take part. Since they knew him better than I did, I just want to talk to him, since he went through war, and I want to know some of the stuff and the things he did in life before he had my father and my aunt. He died when I was either 7 or 8.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, you've got some time to think it over, because like I said, the ideal time to do those kind of communication spells would be Halloween, when the veils between worlds are supposed to be thinnest. So you've got plenty of months to think it over, and if you decide, let me know.
So so moving back to the article. So what has this got to do with a Disney movie? Well, Frozen 2 is all about magic and power and where it comes from. And it shows magic and female power in a way that fits with pagan teachings, old and new. For one, Frozen 2 is all about the balance of the elements.
Okay, that's fair, I suppose, but how well are you actually going to demonstrate an understanding of those elements?
Frozen 2 has no real villain, which is cool. The conflict of the film begins with when Elsa, called by a voice only she can hear, wakes the spirits of the enchanted forest, and those spirits represent the elements familiar to anyone with a passive familiarity with the modern Wicca or who's seen the craft: earth, air, fire, and water.
S, and the fifth element being spirit. See, basically, in magic, the 4 elements, as it were, are supposed to kind of be semi-metaphorical and semi-literal. Basically, fire is the element of passion and energies associated with passion, like rage, lust, etc. Water is the element of change and also healing. So like traditional femininity, healing, emotion, etc. Air is supposed to be the element of sort of imagination or thoughts, and earth obviously is supposed to be sort of the element of substance, solidity, density, etc. And then spirit is supposed to be sort of the primal energy from which all of the others are derived. It's why in quite a few magical practices you'll see the 5-pointed star, because in the Renaissance and in ancient cultures, the pentacle or pentagram was considered to be a symbol of balance, because it was supposed to represent the 5 primary elements of existence balancing each other out in a like structured manner. It's one of the reasons why architects in like the Enlightenment would work pentagrams into architectural designs, because they thought it was symbolic of balance.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. This might also be familiar to fans of The Fifth Element or Captain Planet or Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Avatar: The Last Airbender did an amazing job with this. I will give her credit for this. As far as like Eastern magic goes, Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of the greatest shows ever made in regards to it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the idea of the elements is ancient and comes in all sorts of different forms, from Plato's four elements to the 5 elements of Chinese feng shui,
Feng Shui.
feng shui, earth, wind, fire, wood, metal. The elements are the forces of the natural world, and they exist in balance, and that balance is what Frozen 2 is all about. It's a balance that is out of whack because the people of Arendelle, more modern and disconnected from the earth, murdered and manipulated the indigenous Northruldra who live in harmony with the elemental spirits and are closer to magic.
You might be reaching a little bit there. In Frozen 2, the magic in question is more just like narrative woo in the same way that often Disney movies are, i.e., in Frozen 2, it's less of a concrete force with limits and restrictions as it should be, and more just a this is what the narrative requires, so we Deus Ex Machina. I I get that you're reaching for the subtext, but you are really reaching for the subtext, is all I'm saying. Apart from the elemental aspect that you just outlined there's not really much concrete magic involved in Frozen. It's just a nebulous force that doesn't really have any rules or restrictions or even a nature necessarily. Frozen 2 is one of those annoying kids movies that basically says magic means whatever we want it to mean because reasons. And obviously I have issues with that as someone who's actually studied this for a jolly long time at this point.
Elsa is magical, and she goes on a magical journey to reveal the past and, along with Anna, restore the balance. The sisters' journey is about realizing that they do not exist in opposition to nature, but as part of it, and that its power must be respected and allowed to be free. Elsa confronts and tames 3 elemental spirits, all inspired by real mythology in her quest, and Anna completes it. Anna doesn't tame her elemental force, the Earth Giants, but she still works with them, and that's magic too.
Again, like I said, and this is my problem with Frozen, and by extension, my problem with making this point. In Frozen, magic is very much whatever we want it to mean for the sake of the narrative. And that's why I didn't think to make a video like this. But since you are making a video like this, you have to actually make an argument, and your argument is flimsy because in Frozen 2, the magic in question is very narrative sensitive. And that's not very well constructed magic, especially when you consider that you're trying to read actual lore into this, and there doesn't appear to be much aside from the nature is good and the 4 elements something something variety, which isn't particularly pagan any more than generic divinity is good is particularly Christian. You're looking sort of at generic spirituality and you're trying to read magic into it, and that's admirable, and I totally get where you're coming from because I have a show that literally focuses on looking at the portrayal of magic in pop culture, but you're reaching horribly and it's making us all look bad. Not to mention it's showing that you don't really understand much about your own art here. You strike me as exactly one of those coffee shop Wiccans who doesn't actually view magic as a practical force for anything. You just use it to make you feel good and be vaguely spiritual. And unfortunately, I have a strong suspicion that you also tie your feminism into your magic, and that is bad because you're completely ignoring the masculine half of that dichotomy then. Now you can make the case that making that dichotomy in the first place is bad, but then why the fuck are you a Wiccan? Because Wicca is all about that dichotomy. It's one of the reasons I'm not a Wiccan, because I don't believe you can reduce everything down to masculinity and femininity any more than you can reduce anything down to anything else. Anyway, moving on.
Of course, there is a fifth element and the journey to discover and the master it, where Frozen 2 journeys into the unknown realm of the goddess.
Again, focusing on my god and goddess like a traditional Wiccan would is dubious at best, but focusing entirely on the power of a goddess without in any way bringing in the corresponding god that has been a thing in Wicca since the very beginning of it in the 60s is annoying at best and downright counterproductive at worst. And given that you're trying to make a public you're trying to represent magic to the public on the internet, you have drifted way past annoying and into downright pissing me off now. People like you, my darling, are why we can't have nice things. Because you take everything serious or intellectually rigorous about magic and you reduce it down to vaguely spiritual woo. And then you wonder why people don't take us fucking seriously. For you, there doesn't appear to be any scholarship involved or any actual intellectual rigor involved aside from one or two things you might have read in a generic basic how-to manual. And I'm sorry, dear, but that doesn't make you a good representative of magic. It makes you part of the problem because it makes you one of those people that makes magic look like a nebulous spiritually irrelevant system that doesn't have any practical uses. And it very, very does. That's one of the things that separates magic from just straight up religion. Certain religions have more magical aspects than others, yes, but magic is fundamentally separate from religion when you get right down to it, because magic is taking the knowledge of spirituality and spiritual forces and applying them to practical ends using practical techniques. That's one of the defining characteristics of it. And you really are just pissing all over everyone's parade, including mine, by taking all of the actual practical aspects out of magic and leaving only the religious spiritual woo that frankly wasn't even well documented when Gardner made it in the first place. Fuck me. Moving on.
So I'm gonna type something. So yeah, I just got off the phone with my father. He said he'd be interested in talking with his father again.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I will do some research, and there's no particular rush because the best time to do this would be around Halloween. I assume Ahsoka that you know where your grandfather is buried, because traditionally when it comes to like seances and shit, you're getting closer to where the person actually is buried is better for connecting to them specifically. Because the problem with most seances and things like that is there's no unless you're very, very careful about it, there's no way of telling the spirit you'll get is the actual spirit of the person you're trying to connect with. And very often random marauding spirits will try to trick you into thinking that they are your relative or the person you're trying to connect to in order to get you to invite them in. And then it then begins the, generic horror movie of a demon pretending to be a long lost loved one getting invited in and then causing all kinds of havoc because reasons. but I will do my best to provide you with a good enough recipe, and that should hopefully cut down on some of the insecurity. But yeah, if you know where your grandfather is buried, that would certainly help.
I have some idea of it.
Okay. Well, if you know where his gravestone is, then we're in business. If not, then I wouldn't advise it, because there at that point there are just too many variables. If you don't know like where his gravestone is or how to connect to him directly, then this gets risky and unstable. And unstable magic is not anything to be messed with.
Right, okay. The goddess in Wicca and neo-paganism is many things. She is a mother, and we began Frozen 2 as Queen Iduna sings her daughters to sleep with a lullaby, crowning a legendary location called Athol Atholion. This river isn't a real place or myth, but the idea of an in-between place where the elements meet as a spiritual nexus is a real feature in much mythology and paganism.
Yes, okay, but here's the thing, dear, and I suspected this was gonna happen from the get-go. Wicca and even though I have my issues with neo-paganism, Wicca and neo-paganism aren't the same thing. And in most neo-paganism, there isn't quite as much a heavy emphasis on the goddess. That is very much something specific to Wicca that isn't shared by the broader sort of neo-pagan movement. Sorry. And I suspect that the rest of this article is going to take the form of you reading goddess imagery into bits of the movie that don't really even reference it explicitly or otherwise. Unfortunately, I suspect that that's going to ruin your argument here. I don't mean to crap on you so much, but like I said, you don't appear to actually know much about your own. You don't appear to know much about your own religion, and as a result, you are making generalized statements about magic and tying your religion into them when you don't need to. I have significant issues with this. Moving on though.
Right. Okay. I do not. Okay, so I'm just gonna say this. I think after like the next couple of paragraphs, I'm gonna have to call it because I'm really fucking out of it right now, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll cover the rest of it next week.
Mm-hmm. You wanna just call it then? We don't have to wait a couple paragraphs if you don't want to.
No, we'll finish we'll finish a couple of paragraphs and then call it.
Alrighty. It's up to you, dude.
I'm fine. Alright. Iduna is named after a real goddess, Iduna, the Norse goddess of spring and keeper of the apples of immortality. It's not a coincidence that Elsa's journey brings her closer to her mother, who she learns was Northrudra, and lived and worked with the spirits of nature and the four elements. Also, is also called to Thulahan by a voice she believes to be the fifth element, but what she discovers is so much more.
I understand that you don't think it's a coincidence, but you haven't actually substantiated your claim that it's not a coincidence. It might just have been that they picked a random goddess name to name the mother after for the sake of an Easter egg, basically. Because there's nothing in the lore of the movie that suggests that connection is anything more than just a surface level Easter egg, which Disney is known to do. I mean, just look at what they did for Mulan with East Asian mythology, or what they did with actually, to be fair to them, they did a pretty good job with as far as things go with voodoo or Vodun mythology in regards to Princess and the Frog. But my point is, Disney always puts little Easter eggs and things into their movies. It doesn't necessarily mean that that Easter egg is supposed to be taken any further than the level of an Easter egg. You're reaching again, dear, and it's not looking good.
There is no Bible or holy book in paganism, but there are certain texts that express simply and beautifully the essence of the goddess and what she means and is. One of those is The Charge of the Goddess by Doreen Valentine, and it implies so perfectly to Frozen 2 that it's almost magic.
Again, the goddess focuses something very particular to Wicca, and you're reaching and conflating the religious aspects of paganism with the magical aspects of it are a stretch at best, and one you haven't substantiated, so you're pissing me off again.
In this work, the goddess speaks to the seeker, the reader, to tell them where to find her and what her essence is. And there's text here for it, but again, I can't.
Yeah, let's just call it so you can go relax, dude, because I'm starting to genuinely be a little worried.
Right. So yeah, folks, we will continue that next week. Unfortunately. And I want to say thank you for watching, and
Just fuck off. I'm not making him go through the entire thing. Just fuck off so he can feel better, and we will see y'all next time.
have a good one, y'all.
Cheers, guys.